Hi everyone. I hope you're doing really well. I hope you're enjoying this weather. It's not too much for you, and you just know the favour of God. And I'm recording this on Monday morning after Sunday, and I'm about to go off on holiday for a couple of weeks. It's been a really long run, the start of this year. Lots of things happening, preparations for all that's going to happen in September with the launch of Windsor and Isle of Wight ramping up, and Liam and the gang going with Flow Church. And just got back from a great trip to Ukraine, helping serve a bunch of church leaders out there. And it feels like we've run really hard, but looking forward to a bit of a break now. But before I go, I just want to send you some encouragement from this Sunday. Talked about this idea of guests versus hosts, that everyone, when they first come into a community as a guest, and guests can do whatever they want. Guests can show up however they want, they can show up when they want, and there's no responsibility, there's no requirement for them to do anything. And when we start the Christian journey, we start as guests. And when we start in a new church, we start as guests. And it's good to be guests for a while, but the longer we stay, we should go on this transition from being guests to being hosts. And I spoke about how, as we want to see God do all that we think He's about with us, it's so vital that we really grasp this concept that we need to show up in community with a host mentality. I think for some of us, we show up with a host mentality when we're on rota, we're on the welcome team, or on the car park, or serving in kids. But the rest of the times we really come with a guest mentality of just like, okay, I'm just going to see what happens and truck up. And I want to encourage us to up our game in that sense. And we gave out these door hangers. If you didn't get one, you should be able to get one next Sunday. Just speaking about some of the characteristics of coming not as a guest, but as a host. And if you weren't there or you haven't got one of those hangers, let me just quickly remind you what they were. First of all, hosts arrive early, ready to worship and to welcome others. I encourage us to get to church before it starts, in order to be ready to, as soon as worship starts, to kick off with that, but before that, to be welcoming people, to be going around and connecting with people. Hosts prioritise gathering together on Sundays. Increasingly in our nation, people come to church less and less regularly. And I want to encourage all of us to prioritise Sundays for our benefit, for our families' benefits while we're in families, and also for others' benefits as we connect with them. Hosts invite guests. And as we look to Alpha, and we think about the bless principles that we learned, then let's be thinking about the guests that we're going to invite to those Alpha courses in September. And that's how we're going to fill those courses, is that we have many guests there. Hosts are always finding ways to give people an unconditional welcome. My heart is that we're all part of the welcome team. And when people turn up on a Sunday, they would receive a remarkable welcome. Hosts find ways to take other people up in their list. We're always looking to speak encouragement and strength and comfort over others. That's what we do when we show up on a Sunday. We're thinking, hey, who here can I encourage? Who here can I speak some good stuff into? Hosts are always thinking about how to draw people into deeper levels of community. How do you help people find that next step, whether it's a life group or a course, or it's someone else in the community you could connect them with who's like them, or perhaps you're going to do that connecting and you invite them into your home or into your small group. We're thinking about that. Hosts are always on the front foot in praying for others and exercising spiritual gifts. Let's be on the front foot as we're praying for people on a Sunday. If there's an appeal and people stand or people come to the front, let's be the first ones to get out there and pray for them. But also before the meeting, let's be going around thinking like, who could I pray for? Who could I speak a word of encouragement? Someone tells you that you're ill, pray for them to be healed. Don't just do that on a Sunday. Do that all the way through your weeks. What about this one? Hosts pay the bills. And let's go back. Hosts step in when guests need an explanation. You walk in through the doors on a Sunday and you see someone who's new, who doesn't know what they're doing, where to take their kids, where to sit, where to go. You step in and help them. If you need to take their kids, then with their kids over to K2, stop what you're doing and help them. And then similarly, hosts help to think about how to maintain a great environment for our guests. If you walk into the loos and they're a bit messy, there's toilet paper on the floor or the sinks are a bit messy, you sort that out. You're a host and you take responsibility for that. Hosts pay the bills. Maybe this is a bit of a controversial one, but I think it's exactly true. If you invite someone into your home for a meal, you don't charge them for it at the end of the evening. And if you're a host, then it's our responsibility to be paying for everything else to happen, to be providing an environment for the guests. And I just want to encourage all of us to think about our giving as hosts. You know, maybe moving along that curve. You've never give something, you've given something, start giving regularly. You've given regularly. What about tithing? Maybe you're tithing, then stepping up to another level. But hosts pay the bills. What about this one? Hosts are open about their journey. We're not pretending we've got it all sorted. We're willing to take off the masks and admit we're just in the same level as the guests. We're on the same journey that they're on. Hosts set the spiritual temperature, especially in worship and preaching. If you're a host, if you think that's where you're at, then go for it and worship in whatever that looks like for you. It might be you're an introvert and you're not going to leap around. It might be an extrovert and you feel like just expressing yourself like powerfully. But let's draw others into worship through our worship. Similarly with the preaching, let's engage with the preaching. Don't just look bored and falling asleep. You know, maybe even an amen will help the preachers to preach better and change the atmosphere in the room. Hosts choose where to sit, but they always have a front row mentality. Hey, there's something different when you sit in the front row of a meeting. Come and do it one day. And you just feel more responsible for what's going on, more engaged, more involved. Well, we might sit in different places because we want to connect with people, but always let's have that front row mentality. And then finally, hosts help guests become hosts. And hosts are always thinking, how do we help the guests who are here step into another level of community? And how do we help them become what we are, that they would be on the host side rather than the guest side? So I just want to encourage you, maybe in your small group, think about which one of those resonated with you this week. And which one of those are you going to work on? Maybe one of those or two of those you thought, oh yeah, that really challenged me. I had a few people on Sunday spoke to me about, hey, I really need to prioritize getting here on time in order to be here to welcome people, to be ready for the start of worship. I had a few people coming to me saying, hey, I realize I've got to move from a guest mentality to a host mentality. And I believe that as we do that, God is going to do remarkable things in us. We recently had a prophetic word about us being 5 feet from revival. And part of the word was around we all need to step into seeing ourselves not as guests, but as hosts. You know, we need to see ourselves as being priests when we come on a Sunday. There's not a few professionals doing everything, but we're all part of making this thing happen. So I wonder what challenged you out of that. I'd love to hear about that. I'm going to be away for a couple of weeks now, but I hope you have a fabulous 2 weeks. Look forward to seeing you when I'm back. And please be praying for us as well. You know, it's been a long run so far this year, and we're looking forward to having a rest and a break. But I love you. You are amazing people. I'm so proud to be part of a community like ours, all that we're doing, all that God is doing through us. And thank you so much for the part that you play in making that community reality. We are just seeing God do such exciting things. And just come and step in as a host and play your part in all that God wants to do in us and through us.